Welcome.
Hello computer cooks, welcome back to the Retro Recipes kitchen. Now on the menu today we're going to skip back and finish up that Atari 400 refurbishment. Now I've been spending a few weeks on some Lego projects, not sure if you noticed, but we really need to finish up this one. It's waited 35 years and it can't wait a moment longer. So firstly, I'm going to complete that graphics upgrade to get rid of that RF interference mess, move to something crisp, clear and high def looking, and we're also going to return to the ASMR spa due to popular feedback, not really, and finish up washing the case and Retrobright it to get rid of some of those little blemishes that it's acquired over the years, don't we all? Welcome to Retro Recipes. Isn't it lovely that Atari is still popular enough that you find these products in major chain stores? Like this, the Atari Flash 49 or something. Anyway, we've got a real Atari, so let's take it back into the Retro Recipes ASMR spa and finish cleaning it up, ready for Retrobriting. Hair raising, that should be good for the 35 years of 35 years of dirt. Well, there's that dust you'll remember from part 1. Excuse me, that wasn't very ASMR. And this keyboard's in pretty good condition, but it's a little dirty around these buttons. And like any good spa, we do serve alcohol, in this case, alcohol wipes. And now let's shower off all those soapy suds. Nice that they named this port after Jack Trammell. Use the ports, Jack. And then we just hand over to the puppy to give it a final bit of a cleaning. Oh, come back. Alright, well this Retrobriting solution's been warming up for 4 weeks, so it looks good enough now. And we'll just weigh these down here and top it up a little bit so that it covers every, well, not inch, millimeter. And we'll leave that in there for a lovely sauna. So here's the gadget that we're going to be using for this graphics mod. This is created by a user Brian on the AtariAge forum. And if you want to create your own kind of PCB device like this, I recommend PCBWay. They have some great Christmas deals going on right now, so go check them out. And as we all know, PCB stands for Perifractic's Christmas Bonus. So this is the Atari's 4050 video chip, and we're going to remove it. Basically, it provides the RF output, and it's going to be replaced completely by this mod board. So let's just get the RAM and the processor boards out of the way. We won't be needing those right now. That'll give us a little room to maneuver. So what I'm doing here is running a cable from capacitor 187, which is going to give us the color in from the board to the mod. And then we also have to check the jumpers on the board are configured into Atari 400 mode. You can find all the info in, whoops. And you can find all that info in the link in my description. So that just slots into the socket there. Now you can actually wire the mod here straight on top of the 4050 chip in place if you want to keep using RF output, but I don't. and it goes into this rightmost terminal here, which is color in. And from right to left, these terminals are ground, chroma, luma, composite, and a second ground, because you can never be too grounded. And here you see I've wired in a cable to the composite and ground outputs. Now I was going to use this socket here and make a hole in the back of the case, but I don't really like modding original cases, and I'm not really going to be plugging this back in. So I'm going to use the original output hole in the back of the case where the RF cable came out of, and just run a direct cable instead. And next up is our sound mod. And this is the AC board, which is also made by Brian at AtariAge. It's pretty neat. It actually sits upright against this capacitor here, which is capacitor 182. And then two wires run from the motherboard to this AC unit. One is for the Pokey audio, which is basically the regular onboard system sounds, and the other is the SIO audio. Sometimes they have music playing from tapes and narration even on games. So we've finished putting our solder blobs on both ends of the capacitor, and hey presto, it stands up nice and erect, nice and tall all by itself. So firstly we attach a wire for the Pokey audio to the front end of resistor 160. All of my knitting skills came in very handy here, threading this cable. That goes into input IA. And we just hold it down with a blob of solder. And next up is going to be the SIO audio, and that comes from resistor 170. And that goes into input ID. And again a blob of solder. So now we've got everything hooked up to the AC board, we need to take the output from the board. Here's the output. And let's secure it down once again with a third blobby. So now we have our two graphics cables and our one audio output, which just leaves the ground for the audio output. And there is yet a third grounding point on this board, this little pad here. So we'll run our fourth and final cable from this, tin the tip, melt up that pad again, and off it goes. Nice. Now this is kind of interesting, we're heading into 2019 here. This is an article from Analog magazine, and way back in 1982 they discussed the filming of the then Blade Runner movie, not the new one obviously, and how Atari was one of the most profitable divisions of Warner Communications back in 1981. So that's why they included the Atari logo in Blade Runner, seeing it as a vision of the future. I'm not sure they realized that it would be Perifractic doing an Atari 400 graphics mod in 2019. Well, we do have a new Atari on the way, so we'll see how that pans out. But with that breaking news out of the way, let's assemble this one. It's ironic that given such a thick steel interference shield that I still saw so much interference. Well, I've just stepped out of the Retro Recipes restaurant just to get away from everything Lego for a moment. Damn it. Anyway, part of what allows me to eat lunch and still run this small retro channel are my Patreons. So I just want to say a big thank you to all of them, including Michael A. Stanhope and Snaz E. Mantella, and of course Thomas Fuchs, who kindly sent me a message explaining how to pronounce his last name, as in books. I appreciate that. Alright, let's continue getting away from Lego bricks and go get some food. Damn it! Okay, these have been stewing for about 8 hours, and at a cursory glance, things are looking pretty good. So I'm going to take everything out and, whoops, and rinse it off. Well, would you look at that? This separate flap seems to have sunk down into the more concentrated solution and retrobrighted way faster than the rest. Even this label has reacted somehow. Why separate flap? Why? In all seriousness, this is really heartbreaking. You know, one of my missions really is to restore and regenerate discussion in as many of these machines as we can to keep them going for future generations. And when I take a machine that just had a few blemishes and I was trying to fix and make it worse, it's kind of soul destroying. So I'm now determined to make this Atari 400 look even better than Retrobriting would have achieved. In fact, I'm not sure I'm such a fan of Retrobriting at all, particularly after this experience. But you know, we've always seen those videos and heard about friends on Twitter and experienced ourselves how Retrobriting can leave nasty smears and yeah, goodness knows what else. So I'm starting to lean towards going with finding the perfect spray paint match and going for a really light dusting of paint to bring back that finished look without any smears, with a factory kind of finish. So I'm going to need to find the perfect match. I think I'm going to go and ask for some advice from those retrobriting and retrocomputing experts at Wal-Mart. Excuse me. Hi, I'm refurbishing an Atari 400.
Yes?
I need to find the right color spray paint. Do you happen to know if you have one that might match?
As a matter of fact, I do. I have this Krylon camouflage khaki for the Atari 400.
It's behind lock and key, huh? Hey, that actually looks about right. You're a genius.
Right. No problem.
All right, thanks a lot. See ya.
Have a good day.
This isn't sponsored by Wal-Mart, by the way. Now, in all seriousness, I did do some researching on AtariAge and other places before deciding on this exact colour. And here's the barcode in case you want to scan it. That camouflage will come in handy on the Oregon Trail. So let's see how it matches up. Just take the top off here. Wait, squeeze, but... Right. That isn't that amazing? I don't think we could have found a more close match. I had some help from YouTube channel Gamed Out Gamer. He sent me these photos of an Atari 800 that by all accounts had never even been opened. So you can bet that plastic hadn't seen any UV, and even that matches pretty well with this paint. So I'm just going to seal up the badge here, trim around the edge, and take it outside to spray. How appealing. Reminds me of my shake weight. So I'm just doing a really even, light dusting here from about 12 to 14 inches away. A bit of air dusting to get any dust off. And again, just nice and even. Not forgetting, of course, the sides. And, of course, the backside. Yeah, looking pretty good. Let's peel this off. How appealing. Oh, no, I made that joke already. Alright, the finished result. Drum roll, please. That's not what I had in mind. But doesn't that look good? He seems to agree. Wait, who was that? It is indistinguishable from the back of the case, which never saw UV. I could not be more pleased. But there is one thing remaining. These feet that have been decaying away on my desk for many years. Yeah, they need to go. Now they're fastly secured in there, so we're just going to have to cut them off. Sorry, feet.
No, no, please stop. No.
Ow! That really hurt. I'll make myself feel better with some alcohol fumes. Now I couldn't find black ones to match, but these will do just fine. They're the same shape and size, and they're going to be on the underside. Also, they're going to be on the underside. Of course, we've got our spring that nearly killed me in the first episode, remember that? So I think I'm going to just secure it with some tape so it doesn't take my eye out. That wouldn't be a happy Christmas. And as a bonus of cleaning it up so well, this is much smoother now to open. Look at that. So I just extended the cable to full length there. And I'm going to take it out through this screw hole in the bottom case. So there is no way of penetrating this RF shield otherwise. And I've also bent the corner of the case down like this, just to get the cable in. And then once everything's secure, I'm going to clamp it back. So here's that interesting contraption that the cable, the old RF cable that is, would wind around, and it would just come out of this hole at the bottom and then slot up into the back. So I'm going to use that for this cable here. May as well. If you've got it, flaunt it. So we'll push our composite plugs out there. They just about fit. Put our main assembly back in and wind it all around. It's like playing Snake. And you can see there how it neatly fits out of the hole. So back in goes our power board that we recapped in the last episode with its shiny new capacitors. And we still need our original speaker. This is used for some system beeps, so we'll keep that in there. Now you'll remember I used these upright capacitors instead of the horizontal ones. Luckily there is a hole here in the ribbon cable, but I'm still going to just push these down just to be safe, just because we can. And back in goes the power reset switch, and this stops the cartridge port from being open while the power is on, so you can't remove cartridges and short the system out. Perfect. So smooth. Alright, let's screw this thing and go home. That was a Star Wars reference. There it is with its composite and audio output plugs. So I'm going to feed these down the back of my case and connect these to my XRGB Mini, made by Framemeister. This is the ultimate upscaling device if you want to connect retro gear to an HDMI TV. So as a reminder, here's how things looked before. Let's turn on the power and see how we look now. Oh, pardon me. But would you look at that? You know, that is so crisp. It could be an Atari 400 Mini if they ever made one. You can see there the scanline emulation. It is so good. I just have to give kudos to Brian at AtariAge for creating such an amazing mod. Let's check all our memories still working. Yep, all 13,000 bytes, give or take. And here's some obligatory close-ups of that paint job. Don't be silly, of course the paint doesn't rub off. Doesn't she look beautiful? So let's test out that game that we played in the first episode with that horrible fuzz. See how it looks now.
Look at the size of that thing, Perry.
Cut the chatter, Red 2. Or should I say, cut the chatter. David Ankrum, my good friend, who voiced Wedge Antilles in A New Hope. Great mod, kid. That was 1 in a million. Now, with that clear output, it's definitely easier to destroy the Death Star. So there it is, the finished product. Resprayed and graphic and sound enhanced. I'm so happy with how this baby turned out. Job done. Part of what helped me do that job was the Hakko Desoldering gun. I showed you how I used it for recapping the board, and I also showed you how it can be very helpful for removing those stubborn 30-year-old chips from a Commodore 64 motherboard. It really is a great little sucker. Now, what I'm going to do, because I ended up with 2 of these somehow, long story, is give one away. So to enter the contest, click on the link in the description below, and I'll reveal the results in the description of this video in a few days. In the meantime, I'll say thanks for watching, comment below, and cheerio. Come back. Comment below and cheerio.